you a student, mentor, or parent that loves robotics? Then you're in the right place. Up-to-date info on all things robotics. This is the RoboZone Podcast with your host, Pete Eckman.
Hello and welcome to the brand new RoboZone Podcast. For those of the listeners that are new, welcome to the podcast, and those that have been returning from the RoboCode podcast, welcome to our new branding. I've decided to join the RoboZone TV crew and take on the podcast for them, and let's see what we can do with it. Recently, at Kettering Week 0, there was a practice competition that went on, and I was there, and the RoboZone TV crew was there, so I got a couple interviews for you listeners, as well as they actually interviewed me. So I hope you enjoy this. After the interviews, we are going to do a roundtable as usual. For this week's episode, we're going to cover the volunteers that run events, and the MCs, and the referees, and FTAs that actually help put an event on, because without them, without the volunteers, we wouldn't have a competition to bring our robots to. So let's get to the episode. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to us on SoundCloud. If you search for us at soundcloud.com/RoboZone Podcast, you will find us. And you will find us on iTunes if you search for RoboZone Podcast. So let's get to the episode. I hope you have fun.
All right, everybody, so we are back here at Kettering University, and of course the third season of RoboZone on your television screens, getting set to debut on March 12th, Sunday, 9:30 a.m. on Fox Sports Detroit. And of course, as we grow our relationship here with robotics, we want to grow how we bring robotics to you, and that, of course, means sometimes joining forces. You know, we are having our own alliance, as it were. So those of you who are fans of the RoboCode podcast, Peter Eckman here, we are now going to create the RoboZone podcast. And Peter is going to be heading that up, so you're going to get the same great insight that you got with RoboCode now through the RoboZone platform, which, of course, expands the universe. So first off, Peter, welcome to the team.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this year.
All right, so you have a connection with Goodrich and Martians and more Martians, so you are in this world. But talk about just the evolution of your involvement with First Robotics.
Well, I started with robotics with the EngiNerds, Go EngiNerds, 2337 out of Grand Blanc. I actually live in Grand Blanc. My daughter's on the Martians team. She's actually on Team 70, the More Martians. So my interaction started with them last year. And I'm more of a business guy, so I have a business degree. So I'm trying to help them in their business format. So this year, I'm one of their head scouting mentors. So I'm putting electronic scouting together in the team, implementing that this year. I'm rolling off the team after this year. My daughter's going off to college. So I wanted to do a podcast so that I could keep interaction, keep those relationships together. Because one thing I love about robotics, and one thing I'm truly jealous of, I didn't have it in high school. It wasn't there. So I'm so excited that younger generation gets that opportunity to do that. So I want to further that and bring anything I can to the team and to grow the RoboZone podcast so that we have our branding, co-branding together. That's right. And who knows where we can go. We can shoot for the limit. I want to reach to Mars just like the Martians do. Right. So that's where I want to go with it.
Well, it's very exciting because obviously we're limited in what we can bring you every week in terms of a television show. We're limited to really 24 minutes of content time, and we're at all the events, so we can't really get into the meat of everything that's taking place during the course of a season. Sure, we can in some of the online stuff that we do, but a podcast is unique because it's usually structured and targeted toward specific topics. So kind of talk about what fans can expect week to week.
Well, what we've done thus far and what we're going to move forward as a format is we want to get a round table of mentors, kids that interact with robotics, those team sponsors, the team mentors, the team leaders, children I've interviewed that are their coding captains, their mentors on the team, as well as adults, so that we can interact not just with the adults, but we want to do a knowledge share of what we've learned. what each team learns and bring that to everyone, especially teams that are just starting out, like rookie teams, such as here in Kettering. We want to bring that knowledge to them. And this is the perfect way to do that outside of what you guys do, and you guys do a great job. But we want to do it to where if a dad is in a car on his way to work, he can listen to a podcast. Or a kid has doing their homework, they can listen to the podcast and learn outside of the season and within the season. So we want to do it year-round.
Absolutely, and what's beautiful about it, especially in season, is there are so many tricks that you learn, right, each and every week. And as you analyze, wow, did you hear, what the Canton Lightning did out in Shepherd last week? They brought this whole new thing to the table. So it gives you an opportunity to talk about that as, during the week. Talk about the schedule and how the podcast will be released.
So we're going to release it on Tuesday mornings. It's going to be a weekly podcast, and we want people to be invited to that. So if you know a mentor, if there's an outstanding mentor that you think should be interviewed, they have a wealth of knowledge, reach out to us. We'll get the information to them of how to reach out to me and reach out to the podcast, and we'll interview anyone. Everyone can share information. It's not till we share all that information that we all learn as a community for robotics, and to further first, not only in Michigan, but across the nation and even worldwide, hopefully. Yeah. We want to do that.
Absolutely, and the Worlds are coming in 2018. So we're here, and we're going to be a part of that. Talk about when the first one is going to be coming out.
The first one will be coming out this Tuesday. If you go to SoundCloud, /RoboZone Podcast. That's how you can follow us. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be on iTunes too. We're working on that right now. Hopefully it's done by Tuesday. So our first taping's tomorrow under the RoboZone name. So we just changed the Robo code to RoboZone. There's 2 letters that only changed. It was really easy to do. Some good branding. And we look forward to everyone listening on Tuesday. And please interact with the podcast. You can leave comments, things that you think we could cover. It's an ever-ending living organism. So we can grow it to whoever wants us to grow. So.
Right. Absolutely. So you got it. It's there for you. We're going to bring it to you. Of course, we'll be talking about it on the TV show, and we'll get our social media going and get all this information. So make sure you follow RoboZone on Twitter. We've got Facebook, and of course, we've got the website, robozonetv.com. So make sure you guys check that out, and we'll see you at the events. All right, we're back here at Kettering University. It's kind of the zero test, the trial run for a lot of these teams as they get ready to compete in this season called Steamworks. It is First Robotics of Michigan. I'm Lauren Plant, and I'm joined by Clinton Bollinger, who is of the robot space, but he is also of a very important team that has had a lot of success, has had, its challenges like a lot of teams have had. We're talking about the EngiNerds compete out of Grand Blanc, so not far from here. So first off, Clinton, it's a new season, so you forget about last year, right? Talk about, what's taken place over the last several weeks as you've gotten ready for this new challenge.
Lots of prototypes. Lots and lots of prototypes. This game's going to be exciting. You're going to have a lot of fuel, game pieces flying through the air, high-speed collisions. It's going to be a fun game. Like I said, a lot of prototypes, students working hard to try to make up for last year's season and make it a little bit better this season.
Yeah, and there's kids now involved, right? You've got kids on the playing surface, which is different, interacting with the robots. Talk about the uniqueness of that.
So it's like the first time that they've ever actually taken humans and put them on the field where the robots are. So it's a really cool interaction between the robots that they have to interact and make sure that their mechanisms are working with the humans on that platform. It'll be really exciting. They'll have the best seats in the house.
So everybody always has their strategies, especially going in on how they're going to attack. Some say, be great at everything. Some say kind of focus on one. Right now, since you really haven't gotten into the game, is it something you think you're going to have to concentrate on one particular aspect of the game that you think will be the best in terms of results?
I think our team took that in consideration this season. We wanted to make sure we focused on fuel and scoring into the boiler because there's an opportunity to get that ranking point right at the beginning of autonomous. So hopefully our team's going to be able to pull that off this year. However, we gave up some other areas where we can't pick gears up off the ground, right? But the season can always change. We might find that's a priority. We might make some upgrades later on in the season.
Right, because there's always something like I remember during Recycle Rush where they invented those arms that could reach out, those telescoping arms, and there's always something in the middle that kind of like changes the game a little bit. What about this robot that you guys have built?
Like I said, the robot really it went together. It looks real nice. We got all powder coated, sponsors on the side of it. It looks good. It's working real well right now. Like I said, we're going to compete in week 2 at Kettering. We'll see what happens. You don't know until you put it on the field and actually start running the machine. But it looks like it's going to be a really good season.
Do you guys think that you will do more than one district?
We're actually doing 3 districts this season. We're doing Kettering 2, Troy, and Shepherd. And then hopefully we'll make it to the Michigan State Championship this season.
Absolutely. And now, it's kind of there's going to be more teams than ever at Saginaw Valley State. How excited are you for that?
Oh, I'm really excited. More teams, more robots, more matches. Couldn't ask for anything else.
All right. Clinton Bollinger, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Good luck to the EngiNerds. We'll see you on RoboZone March 12th. Hey everybody, welcome to Kettering University, and we are just on the precipice of beginning the 3rd season of RoboZone. I want to tell you right off the bat, we've got a new time, kind of a little bit of the same thing as last year, except now it's its own independent show on Fox Sports Detroit, 9:30 a.m. beginning Sunday, March 12th. We'll cover the entire first robotics season here in the state of Michigan. Joining me right now, of course, he's the man, Jim Zondag of the Killer Bees fame, and we are out at the 0 week, which is kind of the test run for the robotics season. And first off, Jim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. We just got done 6 weeks of aggressive robot building. We've got about 20 teams in the house here today. Going to practice at this week 0 scrimmage for the first time playing Steamworks.
Right, so kind of give the layman an understanding. What is Steamworks?
Steamworks is a head-to-head robot game. We're playing 3 versus 3 robotics again on a 50-foot field. We are basically, the objective of the game is threefold. You have to collect gears. They're these 12-inch plastic gears, and hang them on pegs and load them into the airship, which is this big construction in the middle of the field. You have to shoot fuel balls, which is, there are hundreds of them. It's a real big change this year. There's 600 balls in the game.
They're like wiffle balls.
Like wiffle balls. They're 5-inch wiffle balls. And some of these robots can really shoot like a fire stream of these wiffle balls into a device that's called the boiler. It's kind of like a basketball hoop in the corner of the field. It's red versus blue. And then at the end game, there's a climbing rope. There's 3 climbing ropes on each of the airships. And you can climb the rope for 50 points at the end of the match.
Yes, so this has a very H.G. Wells kind of time machine, hearkening back to the days of the Hindenburg, and we see a lot of television shows now that kind of offer up this kind of like unique kind of Lemony Snicket's, kind of cool stuff. But what has been first off, what's been the most challenging thing of building the robots? Because these look significantly different than a year ago.
Yeah, it's a totally different challenge. The big challenge this year, I think the real difficult challenge is shooting the fuel balls. The target is pretty small. It's less than 2 feet in diameter, and the balls are actually not worth very much. So last year, a good robot would shoot 8 to 10 balls. This year, a good robot has to probably shoot 100 to 150 balls. So making a robot that can shoot, 5 to 10 balls per second is a challenge that we've never done before in over 20 years of building FIRST robots.
Wow. And what you were saying is, are these things, can they get out of control and all of a sudden they're heading into the stands?
Oh, I expect there will be wiffle balls flying out of the field on a regular basis in this game, so it'll be kind of exciting.
All right, so a little bit of a contact sport for the participants and the spectators this year. What's going on in the middle? What's going on in the airship? Because I know that's where a lot of the key things happen.
Yeah, so the airship is a new thing this year. We've never had participants on the field before, so this is a departure for FIRST. So there's actually 2 human players on the airship.
Right.
One of the goals of the game is to bring the gears to the airship and load them onto pegs on the airship. So after the robots deposit them on the scoring pegs, the human players have to lift them up into the airship and then place them on the pegs. And there's basically 4 tiers of scoring which get progressively harder. You need more and more gears to achieve each tier. The maximum is 12. If you can do a total of 12 gears, you can light up all the propellers on the airship, and that's the biggest bonus that you can get.
I have no idea what you just said. It's very wonky, but that's okay. And you know what? I think it's going to be something we've got to see and feel to believe. They're going to be doing some test runs here, and obviously it gets going next week. Just real quickly as we wrap up, talk about how the sport has grown, how many schools are involved now, and just the involvement and the intelligence of these kids and working with you guys.
Yeah, it really is pretty amazing. We've been doing this since the very beginning, 22 years ago when Robotics first came to Michigan, and there were just a couple of teams in the state. This year we have 454 competing teams in the state of Michigan. We have more than anywhere else in America or in the world right here in Michigan, and we're going to be hosting a total of 23 events this coming year, and we've got over 10,000 participants now competing in this sport, and it's quite incredible because when we started it basically didn't exist, and now actually we've surpassed the sport of hockey in terms of high school participation. So this has grown into a varsity sport in its own right over the last 20 years.
No doubt about it, and we have a new state finals venue. Talk about that.
Yeah, so the state finals this year is a big step forward for Michigan. So we're going to have 160 teams at Saginaw Valley State University in the second week in April. We're going to have 4 divisions, 4 playing fields under one roof at the biggest event ever held outside of the World Championship. So it really is going to be a new step forward for the state of Michigan in the sport of FIRST Robotics.
Right, and somehow we're going to have to figure out a way to bring that all to you live as we did last year. It is going to be an immense challenge for both the production team and, of course, the teams that are competing. Well, we're just getting ready to get going. Remember, RoboZone starts up once again on Sunday, March 12th. We'll be on every Sunday for 7 weeks, including the hour show talking about the state finals. That begins on Sunday, March 12th at 9:30 a.m. Jim Zondag, Dan Kimura back in the house. We'll get these guys back on the set, and we're going to take a little bit of a different approach this year in how we do it, but I think it's going to be really exciting, great for you guys, and I just can't wait to do it again.
I'm excited to be back, Lauren, and another great season of FIRST Robotics is about to start.
All right, and hopefully he'll have his voice back for the set. So, all right, well, thanks, Jim. All right, we'll see you on Sunday, March 12th. All right, back here at Kettering University, we're at the Zero Test Week. This is the kind of prelims before the actual robotics competitions get going next week. And so we are joined by Goodrich, and if you know Goodrich Robotics, you know there's Martians and you know there's more Martians. And Pat Major is a part of both of those squads. And first off, Pat, just talk about real quickly just how exciting it is to start another season.
Oh, it's great. I love the fact that they've started to theme the competitions. And this year, the steampunk theme is just great. Couldn't be better.
Right. I know. I was saying to Jim Zondag that we were talking to not too long ago, I was talking about how it has this kind of H.G. Wells kind of vision to it.
That's absolutely true. And, I mean, that's the type of things that engineers, kids that are interested in building things, that's it. H.G. Wells did it many years ago.
That's right, exactly. We're expecting the Zeppelins to take off at any moment. So first off, you've been at this for a long time, and it must be extra satisfying for you to see how it's grown. But talk about the early days and how you got involved in this.
It is. I got involved in 1999 when Baker College here in Flint had a Boy Scout Explorer post. And if you know about Boy Scout Explorer posts, they're always about a particular subject. They had theirs on engineering. And one year they decided, we're going to try this first competition. So they sent out letters to all the high school students in Genesee County saying, come join us and build this robot. So we did that, had a lot of fun. The following year, my son brought the robot back to Goodrich High School, did a demonstration, and we started a team in 2000 at Goodrich High School.
And talk about the evolution of the Martians.
Oh gosh, the evolution of the Martians. We started then. In 2003, we came in second at the world competition. So 2004, we said, boy, this year's going to be a disappointment because how are you going to do better than that? And lo and behold, 2004, we won the world competition. So that was fabulous for us. Made the team grow at school. Everybody likes a winner. We got to the point where we had almost 50 kids on the team, and we're just a small high school. Team 70 had a single mentor. The mentor was retiring. So we asked Kettering if they'd be interested in supporting Team 70 if it came to Goodrich, and they said yes. So we were the first school in the country to have 2 teams at our school,
right.
at a school.
And I know a lot of this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Kettering getting involved, and it was, this place looked vastly different a long time ago.
Kettering has been unbelievable for many years. This facility that we're standing in, the first community center, which is the first of its kind in the country at a university, it was an old gymnasium that was not being used for years. It ended up being storage. They had desks and cabinets and file cabinets, things all over the place, and they used to allow us to clear out a little space on the floor, roll out some carpet, bring our robots in here and practice. The ceiling was leaking at the time. It just wasn't being used. And so when Bob McMahon became the president of Kettering University, he could see the vision that we had talked about for years, which was to create a first community center here. And Bob Nichols, who leads it, has been huge. And you can see how great this is. Great for the community, great for the teams, and great for Kettering.
All right, well then, as we wrap it up, talk about Steamworks, what you're excited about and what's really going to be the big challenge for you and you guys.
I like Steamworks this year because there are multiple challenges. Some years there's just one challenge, shoot a ball or do 1 or 2 things. This year you have to be able to pick up a gear, you have to be able to hang the gear, you have to be able to hang your robot from a rope, you have to be able to pick up balls, you have to be able to shoot balls. So there's 5 different operations that you have to try and get your robot to do. Some people try and do one thing really well. The philosophy on my team has always been, we're going to do them all, and we're going to do them all really well.
Right, absolutely. How excited are the kids for this?
Oh, the kids are ready to rock. They're out there now, and I want to go watch them.
All right, you got it. You do that. Pat Major, thank you very much.
To end this podcast, I have a pretty good and funny roundtable interview. Alex Fera, who's a Frog Force alumni, a first volunteer since 2009, and a current FTA. We have Andrew Spiece, who is a lead mentor for Trucktown Thunder, and Nick Clarke, who's an EngiNerd alumni and also a Master of Ceremonies, and finally Joel Hurd, who is a 470 Grizzly Robotics alumni and a game announcer. I hope you enjoy the roundtable. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for listening to this week.
My name is Alex Fera. I'm an alumni with Frog Force Team 503 out of Novi. Currently for First, I'm a First Technical Advisor. What I'm looking forward to this season is I think it's like last year. It looks really interesting from the audience standpoint, and I hope that this is a good way for us to be able to hook a lot more people into being able to come out and want to see the game, be able to get a lot more people interested in coming to First.
All right, my name's Andrew Spiece, and I'm currently the team leader at Trucktown Thunder Robotics out of Brandon and Holly High School. 2016, I was privileged to be nominated as the Woody Flowers Award nominee for Michigan State. And got to compete at the national level, which was really awesome. I run an entire K-12 program here at Brandon Schools, kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, and I spend a lot of time working with programs in the area to start teams and get people excited about robotics and have more kids get involved. I'm also a online instructor for Michigan Virtual School, and I teach math and computer science for them. So as my full-time position, that's what I do. And then at night, I spend here at the shop working with all these awesome kids.
Nice. And building robots. Don't forget about that, right, Andrew?
Oh, yeah, we build a few of those.
Okay, Joel, you're next.
All right. My name's Joel Hurd. I'm formerly of Team 470. Just up until last year, I was the business and chairman's mentor for Team 66 and 470, helped guide them through their rebranding and winning a chairman's award at MSC. Since then, I've taken a step back from the team side of things, but I'm still maintaining a game announcing position on the volunteer level. So the thing that I'm really looking forward to most this season is being able to approach this year's game from kind of an outsider's perspective. I haven't been, in the trenches all season. So I'm going to get to evaluate it kind of and see how it evolves without having a preconceived notion of how it's supposed to be played.
Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Nick Clarke. I'm an alumni of Team 2337, the Engineers out of Grand Blanc, Michigan. I am a freshman in college. I'm currently attending Central Michigan University for a major in marketing and logistics. What I'm excited for this season, I really haven't been working with any teams. Obviously, I go check out a bunch of teams. My mother is the head mentor for Team 6086, Ignition from Mount Morris High School. So I get to see like how other teams, how they're building their robots, but I'm excited to see what other teams are doing as well.
So I want to welcome all you guys for attending tonight, especially tonight. It's a Monday night. You know, we just got done with Kettering Week 0 for those that attended that. Build season is not done. It's never done, but, you know, bag time is a reality now for us. So we have to really focus on what we're going to do with our bots from here on out. So thank you guys for taking time out of your night and your busy schedules to attend this taping. So the first question I have for you guys is related to like Week 0 activities. Andrew, I don't know if your team did you guys do anything with Week 0?
Unfortunately, we weren't able to get out to any place this year due to some build issues back at our shop, not having something to take with us. But I was able to watch and get some, I do it every year. I watch some of the Week 0 events that are online, like the Shakedown up in Suffield. Mm-hmm. And they went over in England this year, which was pretty neat. So I actually got to spend some time watching online and watching matches. That's kind of what I do pretty much every year. We really build right down to the wire. So getting out during Week 0 is tricky. But I do, usually will play, try to have something playing at the shop, or I'll be watching things at night, or anything I can get online that I can watch to see what's going on. What was nice is the one over in England was playing late into the evening because of their time zone difference. So it was nice because I got to leave my shop and I was able to go home and watch some of that, which was neat. It was nice seeing some of the how the robots were interacting on the field. Being the drive coach for my team, I'm always watching for how the game's going to play out, what teams are going to do, where they're going to go first. And every week when you compete is a little bit different. So as the season goes on, I'm going to be watching constantly.
Andrew, if you had one thing that when you watch those Week 0 Special in England as a drive coach, can you tell us one thing that you're really, really going to key on, or the key observation you made by watching that event?
Probably the most key one I made was gears. Watching those gears on the springs. If they don't get that gear way up on the spring up towards the actual airship, if they get it more on the end of the spring, that's going to fall off the front of that spring. So, and I've read a few other people observations online that have also confirmed that if you don't get that gear right up on that spring, it's going to fall right down on the field and be in everybody's way, including your own when you're trying to go back to that spring again. So I think teams, if they really focus on making sure that gear is up on that really well, that's going to be a lot of help, and really giving some thought into making sure that gear stays on there.
Alex, did you get to get involved in any of the Week 0 activities this year?
So Week 0, I was at the Kettering event the entire time for the Week 0 that we had there, and then I also got to watch online the Week 0, the official one that First hosts every year.
So what do you think from an FTA perspective? What do you think the key observation that you made was?
So at least from a volunteer standpoint, just making sure that everyone's on top of getting the field prepped for that next match as fast as possible to be able to get that turnaround time low, so that way we can get through the matches without staying till a ridiculous time. Like we do pretty much at the beginning of Week 1s anyway.
We're really going to feel for you this year. You guys we have to give it to you now. I give you all the respect for doing that, because it's going to be a nightmare when it comes to fuel. Joel, what do you think the key observation you made? I know we saw each other at Kettering Week 0. What do you think the key observation you made was?
Well, looking at the field, the Kettering Community Center doesn't have really great sight lines from a spectator's point of view, but I was able to see that the airship this year plays a really big challenge in being able to communicate with your human players. There was a lot of glass banging going on between teams, and just being able to really make sure that you have that plan set out, and especially with teams that are younger or a little bit more inexperienced, making sure that they understand the rules, when things need to happen, and really just making your human player run smoothly. That's going to be really key to success.
Do you agree with them, Nick? What do you think the biggest thing that you saw this weekend was?
So obviously when we look at the game, the first thing I look at, I was a driver for 2 years. So looking back at other games such as 2015, 2016, vision is a huge problem in both of those games. And I think that this year is actually the worst year for vision. That airship is right in front of the middle driver station. And I was talking to a bunch of my friends who are driving the robots this year, and they're saying that it is impossible to see over that airship. So I think the biggest thing for a lot of teams this year is to try and find a way to get that vision. Cameras on robots is going to be really big and really big advantage. Another thing that First did this year was they no longer allow us to put GoPros on a stick and put them up above so that we can get a full field image onto our driver station. That was a big part of last year's game. They're not allowing that this year. I think that vision for the drivers is going to be really key and how people deal with that.
Right, and Nick, I was going to bring up that point too, that rule change that they did this year. I mean, if anyone looks at a game footage from last year, especially from behind a drive team, you saw a lot of GoPros up in the air, and they had to watch how far they came up above the glass, but still they're trying to get an advantage, or not an advantage, but just see where they're going. And this year, you're right. How do you guys think, and we'll start with you, Andrew, how do you think the season's gone thus far? You know, this game is a lot different than last year's game. You know, they're throwing a lot of different objectives at us. So do you think people are more nervous about this year? Do you think it's going to be more competitive? Are teams going to be more evenly matched, say a rookie team to an experienced team? How do you think the season's going thus far?
I'm glad you asked, because I've been thinking about that a lot. Watching a lot of the robots come out with some of those reveal videos that are coming out, there's a lot of robots to me that generically look a lot the same. I've noticed a lot of them are making the big square bot with an intake on the front. Now, when you know, those are experienced teams that are able to pull out a reveal video, right? So if you start thinking about the rookie teams and that sort of thing, I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of them struggling with getting the fuel in the top of the boiler and actually shooting consistently. Unless they've got a flywheel on the robot, they're going to struggle with keeping that speed up and be able to get a stream of balls in, to get a lot of balls in, or fuel. To me, I see a lot of teams should be able to pull off that gear. They might have to do a little extra work, maybe at competition, making sure that gear stays on the spring. But I think every team should be able to do that, including rookie teams. And now I could be completely wrong. But I will do everything I can to help a team make sure that gear gets on and they can do it. There's no reason why a team couldn't come up with a mechanism, even a passive mechanism, to get that gear out of that chute and getting it over onto a spring. There's a lot of they can do to do that. So contributing to a match this year, I think, is going to be, it's a really good year for rookies in that way. Picking up fuel from the ground is a little tricky. It can be done quite simply. One thing I would point out is we strictly focused on having a year that we did everything as simple as possible. And we really strive for that this year, and it really paid off. We pick up the fuel quite easily, and I think it's pretty easy to do that if you don't overthink it. We also didn't focus on moving the fuel around too much. So once we pick the ball up, it's in our hopper, and then it's shooting out. We didn't try to move the balls around, or the fuel around our robot, or up with some kind of conveyor or anything like that. So we try to keep it very simple, and I would highly recommend. And that's, I think, how this game is going to be easy for maybe some rookie teams to kind of contribute to. I've met with a couple teams that are a little newer first, and a lot of them are struggling with how to maintain that constant speed on their shooter and having that. We're actually, I think, working with a team right now to help them make a flywheel for their shooter so that they can get that consistent speed and keeping the speed up on their shooter. So I think if a team can focus on just getting an autonomous to score some points and getting some gear up on a spring, I think you can be an average team. I really do. I think if you can consistently put a gear up there all the time, that'll help a lot. But when it comes to fuel, a team that can put 120 balls in that boiler by themselves, that's a huge advantage of ranking points. So I think our top level teams are going to be ones that are able to get that ranking point and be able to stay up there on top. But there's nothing to say that they're not going to be looking. They're going to be looking for someone that can do gears and doing them very consistently. So I think it's a really good year for a rookie team to get out there and get those gears on there. If you can do 5 to 8 gears on your own and that's all you can do, you're going to be really, really valuable to an alliance.
I think defense is going to be a huge part this year. And those rookie teams, they can go out there and play defense. Defense is something that you really don't have. You just have to know strategically how to block someone. Not necessarily your shooter or not necessarily picking the balls up off the ground. But if you prevent someone else from scoring, that's taking ranking points away, or blocking them from putting the gear on is taking ranking points away. So I think that's one good thing that rookie teams can focus on. Alex, from a FTC perspective or FTA perspective, what do you think season's going thus far?
That's a very good question. The season, I think, is going pretty well, average compared to how it's been going in the previous years.
What about like field setup? You know, it looks like when we got there to Kettering Week 0, the field was just starting to be put together. And that's what you guys are going to do this coming Wednesday, because I know we're one of the host teams along with you. So we're sending kids to help you set that stuff up. But I think the field, you know, putting the field together, making sure everything works is going to be a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially with the very first week when we do it with the field for the very first time, the big challenge with that is there's a lot of things that don't come already assembled that we have to make sure are put together and working properly versus weeks later on where it's half the stuff is already pre-assembled and we just bolt it back into place or do whatever we do with it. But especially with the very first week, it takes a little bit longer to be able to put the whole field together and make sure everything's working properly. And as well as with pretty much every week one that I've ever been to in my past 7-8 years volunteering, there's always something that pops up at the week one events that puts us a little bit behind schedule for building.
These events are always really long, right? And we already kind of addressed the fuel on the ground and how we need to, as I'm sure Andrew and myself as mentors, we need to keep it in our minds that the matches may get a little behind, but just to remember that there's all that fuel and all that work that has to be done to reset the field so that the next match can happen. That's something that team leaders, all the kids that are involved, are really going to have to, you know, understand, have a lot of respect for FTA and for volunteers, because they are volunteers, and it's going to be kind of a nightmare for them this year. So there's a lot of game pieces that have to be put back in their places. So Joel, how do you think the season's going thus far? From, let's say, from a game announcer perspective, are you just psyched? You ready to go? I mean, are you biting at the bit to get out there and start announcing and waving flags? I mean, how do you think the season's going thus far?
I don't know if people want my opinion from a game announcer perspective. This game has so much terminology that is very hard to relate to the crowds, and also very hard to say. For example, kilopascals. They did not make it easy on us, that's for sure. But I'm definitely excited to see how this game turns out. I think it's very similar to last year in terms that we're going to see like the majority of the points the first couple weeks really come from like the gears is what I'm thinking. Like we saw a lot of points come early from the defenses, whereas later on, we're going to see like the real differentiator be the shooting. I think this game really harkens back to 2014 in the sense that there's a lot of wide open spaces and a lot of potential for some higher speed knock-aroundery, if you will, which should make it definitely fun to watch and definitely fun to call. I know 2014 wasn't everyone's favorite game, but I certainly loved watching it just because you really got to see strategy on the broad open field, and you really got to see big hits and interaction between the robots.
So basically what you're saying is going to be like robotic demolition derby is what's going to come on.
I mean, I never want to say that, but we have a lot of boxes full of balls with wide open tops, and I think you're going to see some balls fly. That's all.
That's it. Good way to put that. Nick, do you agree with Joel, or how do you think the season's going this year from a Master of Ceremonies perspective?
For a Master of Ceremonies perspective, I mean, I'm kind of happy because I'm trying to find different ways to use the airship to announce teams and try and get some fun in. FTA's discretion advised, but you know, looking back at like the season and whatnot, I want to go back to something that I believe Andrew was talking about earlier about rookie teams and how they were working. So I mentioned earlier that my mom is the head mentor for Team 6086, and they suffered from something called sophomoritis, is the term that we throw around. Team 6086, a little bit of background, they were the backup bot that was brought in for the number 2 alliance at the Michigan State Championship. They played in finals match 2 and match 3, and they ended up winning the Michigan State Championship. So they kind of have a very high ceiling, so to say, a lot of expectations from a lot of teams. And so they tried to do something they went away from something that they did last year, which was be simple. They had just an intake last year that could go over all the defenses, and that's all they did. And they were very successful at doing that, where this year they tried to do everything, where they tried to score gears and they tried to pick up the balls from the ground and shoot them into the high goal. And so luckily, as of 2 hours ago, they got their shooter and feeder mechanisms working, but they definitely struggled this year from that.
But you're right. When you win something like that, certain expectations may be held against your team where you want to meet that challenge, because when it comes down to it with alliance selection, it's name recognition, it's how you performed, it's your past, and having a sophomore team that is a state championship is rare. So I hope they pull it together. I'm rooting for every team this year. So I hope that they get everything going and they can be competitive this year. So the next question I have for you guys is how much do you like volunteering? I know, Andrew, you're a mentor, so you volunteer for your team, right? But how involved are you guys with volunteering? I mean, is it something that you just can't wait to get to? Or is it something that you wait for this certain time of the year that your blood gets racing and you're ready to go, kind of like a sports team in a certain season? Andrew, are you ready to go? How excited are you?
Well, volunteering to me is a multiple faceted thing, right? So everything from volunteering with my team to volunteering at an event. I'm commonly known for MCs and announcers to jump in and give them a lunch break. I'm always excited to do that. I can never really commit to an entire 2 days, which I really wish, I go back and forth sometimes with the volunteer coordinators, like, what can I do to help? But I got to be with my team on Saturday. So I get pulled in two directions. So I'm actually taking my team up to Kettering on Saturday for scouting. And I'll probably try to jump in and announce a few matches if they'll let me, just to kind of get a feel for the game, plus give them a break, because I know by Saturday about noon they're going to want to have a lunch break and have a little break from announcing, and it gives me I walk in with a purpose, right? Like I announce I'm in the building. That's just the way I am, right? Like I'm fired up. I can't wait to get there. So I walk in, I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm fired up to get to events, to volunteer and work with these kids. It's an inspiring experience, and I'm working on these kids to just become these great leaders that I know they can be. And it's always a passionate struggle, and I live for doing it. I eat, breathe, and sleep it. I do it year round. I got 3 kids on the high school team, and I just had a baby, and I just signed up for 18 more years of First. So you guys aren't getting rid of me anytime soon. So I absolutely live for it.
And I'm a lot like you, Andrew. I think I yelled "boom shakalaka" last year as soon as I entered the threshold for Michigan State Championship, and I had a green lacrosse helmet on that's painted in the same color as the Martians. But I was ready to go. Alex, the same question I have is going to be different from Andrew, and it's for you, Joel and Nick, because you guys are as much as we're coaching our teams, you guys are out there running around. So, Alex, I'm going to start this question with you. How did you get ready for the season? What was your cardio, schedule that you got going? Did you start running? Are you ready to go? Do you have a blood pressure monitor on you to make sure that your blood pressure is okay? I mean, how are you getting ready for this season?
So basically the same way that we do every year. We start out with, in January, a couple weeks after they release the game, all the FTAs and us, we go out to First HQ for the weekend, and they teach us pretty much everything that we need to know for the game specifics of this year. And then on top of that, just helping out the team of all the volunteers that we have, go out and load the trailers, get them all packed, figure out how we're going to do that. And then as well as watch the week zeros, or go to the week zeros and actually help participate in those, to be able to get back into the mode of being able to get to the event and go through the entire event without having to pass out in the middle of it. I know Saturday was a wide wake-up call, getting up at 6 a.m. to drive all the way up to Kettering. But that's basically how I get into being able to do that.
Joel, do you do the same thing? I mean, are you out there running around Kettering? Because I know you're a Kettering student. You're out there running around the campus to get ready, get the cardio up there, so we don't want to see you fall flat on your face on the field, in the middle of announcing something. Are you making sure you're getting enough electrolytes in your system at this point?
I've actually taken a different approach this year. I started doing a grooves dance class on Monday nights. I'm actually missing it right now to record the podcast, but working on my dance moves so I can help entertain the crowds when Nick can't do it all. But overall, I gotta say, it does really excite me to volunteer in this capacity. I did a marketing and game presentation internship with the Detroit Red Wings back in the 2013-2014 season, and that was really my onus to start volunteering on the first side of things in this larger capacity, because I wanted to bring that type of I guess majesticism or reverence for the memories that you can make with people into the robotics side of things. For the longest time in FRC, your MCs and your game announcers were kind of clowns. They dress up in wacky clothes, and I wanted to bring a much more professional, cool aspect to it. So really, I was able to announce the winning match at States last year, and I put so much, almost choreography into how that match goes from start to finish, be it the announcing of the scores or the build-up or, panning the crowd, just to really generate that vibe in the arena that's conducive to making memories with people. And that's really why I'm here week after week, is because I love making memories with people.
Nick, are you approaching it the same way Joel is? Do you have your gamesmanship ready to go? I know you were pretty animated last year when I saw you announcing. I can't wait to see what's going to happen this year, but are you ready to go?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely worked on some things that I want to say. One of the things that I do before every event is I look at teams' histories, like awards and different things, because I like to announce different awards and achievements that teams have done in previous years, because that kind of adds a little bit more to the introduction of a team. So I'm definitely doing all that. I just got done with my Kettering Week 1. I call it my pre-MC assignment. So I got done with all that for Kettering Week 1, and I'm started on the Ann Arbor event for Week 2. One of the things that I've been doing is I've been working out every day. I'm currently training for an Ironman for the summer, so swimming, biking, and running all the time. It's super fun, and hopefully I don't pass out on the field like some other MCs have been doing.
I think are you calling Joel out? Is that what that was?
Yes, of course.
Oh God, I love the camaraderie. We haven't had that yet on the podcast, so I like the name, the calling out. So that'll set up really well for Saturday. I mean, we're only a couple days away, starting Friday. Well, if you guys are calling each other out now, I mean, basically that's going to start Thursday, and I'll be there, so I can't wait to hear the trash talking. I'll just carry a recorder around with me, and then I'll just bring it into the podcast later on as, week 1 observations type of stuff. So Andrew, kick us off. Tell us about yourself, where we can follow your team at, and then the last thing I want each of you guys to tell me, what is the most important rule we're going to have to follow this year?
Wow, the most important rule we're going to have to follow, I think, is going to be the new purple light rule. The new purple light rule that says that no one goes on the field because it's too dangerous and there's too many fuel on the ground.
But tell us where you're from, Andrew. How we can follow you too.
My name is Andrew Spiece. I'm from Trucktown Thunder Robotics, first team 68 out of Brandon and Holly High School. We're excited to compete this year. We're going to be at Ann Arbor, Lansing, Marysville, and hopefully we'll see you guys at the state championships and possibly even down in St. Louis. You'll also you can find us on Facebook at Trucktown Thunder. We have a website, trucktownthunder.com. We're on Twitter, T3_robotics. You can find us all over the place. We're excited. We can't wait to see everybody out there. Connect with us. Come see us.
And we can't wait to see you, Andrew. So thank you for attending us tonight. Alex, you're next.
Well, Andrew stole my rule that I wanted to bring up, the purple lights. I know that's going to be one
He's
that
fist pumping
a lot
right
of
now,
teams
Alex.
aren't.
You can't see him, but he's fist pumping right now on video.
But the purple lights is something that I'm sure we're going to see a ton of people not paying attention and just seeing that the lights have turned on so that they're able to go onto the field. But it's really important to know for safety that we have the green lights that need to come on for a reason before entering the field. That's basically just one of the biggest safety rules that I think we'll see a lot of teams forgetting at least the first couple of times that it happens. So my name is Alex Fera. I'm an alumni from Frog Force, Team 503, out of Novi, Michigan. Our 2 events for this season are going to be Woodhaven and Livonia. And then for first, I'm one of the first technical advisors out of the 10 or so of us who will be at pretty much all the events that you'll be going to this year.
Joel, tell us about yourself.
So my name is Joel Hurd. I'm a game announcer for First in Michigan. You can follow me on Twitter at HURDFirst. I think the biggest and most important rule that's going to come into play this season is the rule of KISS. You've got a lot of teams trying to do a lot in a little package with the reduced dimensions this year. And, overall, you just got to keep it simple,
I agree with you, Joel. Nick, tell us about yourself. You're the last one to go.
All right. I guess they saved the best for last, as some people like to say.
Jerk.
I'm not editing that out, by the way.
I'm the one who made you, Nick.
That is a true statement. I do consider Joel the upper. By the way, our ship name for this weekend is going to be Noel Hurd. It's Nick Clarke and Joel Hurd put together. Come see us, Kettering Week 1. It's going to be a blast. Anyway, my name's Nick Clarke. I think the most important rule for this season is going to be teamwork amongst the alliances, really working together. I know it's not like a set rule, but I think that's going to be the most important because there's not a lot of rules in this game besides robot dimension-wise. I'm a freshman at Central Michigan University. I am not getting an engineering degree right now. I'm getting a marketing and logistics degree. I'm going to be at Kettering Week 1. I'm going to be the MC for the Ann Arbor event. I'm going to be the MC for the Midland event, and I'm going to be game announcing at the Shepherd event this year.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for putting your time aside to do this with us. I look forward to seeing you guys at Week 1. Thanks for attending tonight. And go build your bot, Andrew. Joel, Nick, go get some sleep because you got studying to do. Alex, go do some cardio because you're going to need it on Friday.
Thanks for listening to the RoboZone Podcast with your host, Pete Eckman. Find us online at RoboZoneTV.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.